Hola, oi, hi there. So it's your girl checking in. Just wanted to talk a little bit about. I'm filming children. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about another subject that I've gotten some questions about: residency. So every country has its own residency rules. And in addition to this, some countries are extremely lax about their rules and some not so much. A lot of countries know that their residency rules affects the amount of foreign investment that they get. And some countries understand the value of that, and some don't really feel like they need it. Since I have direct experience with two countries' rules, I'll talk about those, but I've also researched tons and tons. Now's probably a good time just to remind anyone who might be curious, you don't necessarily have to have lived everywhere to know how to research properly. And part of my goal with these videos is to bring up some of the subject matters and some of the concepts that you need to consider when you're thinking about leaving. I am, I guess, in my own right, an international relocation specialist. I think about what to do. I've done it enough times to know what to think about. And there's a lot of little details that most people don't consider. So, I spent 5 years in Brazil and I'm now in Costa Rica, and I've researched over 15 countries that I had considered moving to, and I've visited several others. And so, if the information that I share about Costa Rica or about Brazil doesn't really apply to you, then inbox me, send me a message, leave a note in the comments asking about the countries that you're interested in. And if you would like one on one help with your relocation project, you let me know how urgent it is, and I can carve out some time to work with you directly. So it's a type of consultation that I happily do because I'm just kind of good at it, and it makes me happy to help you find your forever home, or at least where you're going to feel more secure, especially in these times. So back to the subject, residency. So most countries that I've looked at have some form of investment visa option. Usually it's connected, they may have multiple types of investment visas or retirement visas. Retirement visas sometimes are, you have to provide proof that you are receiving a check from the government in a minimum amount. Some countries, it's, a minimum of $1,000 per person. Some countries it's a minimum of $2,500, and then you need to prove that you get an additional amount, $500 or $600 per additional person if you have dependents or children. Sometimes they're associated with age, sometimes they're not. Um, Another one, sometimes they have like a in between, like here in Costa Rica. You don't necessarily have to be retirement age, but you do have to prove that you're bringing in $2,500 a month or more, up to I think 4 people. And there's a process to that, so that's a little different than just like the standard retirement. Investment visas, Brazil has an investment visa. The amounts have changed a few times, but it does exist, and you have to make a lump sum investment, or prove that you've purchased a business or property in this amount. Same thing with Costa Rica, same thing with Belize, same thing with Nicaragua. Each country has its own amount, but investment visas tend to be a little bit more accessible. One of the cool things about Costa Rica is that they, as Americans, if you have an American passport, you would have to check, if you're not American, what the rules are for you. But for Americans and Canadians, we can come in and stay for 3 months, for 90 days. You can drive, you can open a business, you can open a bank account without having a residency, and you can be here for 90 days at a time. And what most people do is they just do border runs every 90 days. They go to Panama, or they'll go to Nicaragua, or they'll take a 30-minute flight to Guatemala, which I've done with my son. It's really easy, and I've never had an issue Right now, because of the lockdown, our visas were automatically extended. They're saying till July, maybe even longer. So we're able to drive and do everything else that we need to do, go to the bank with no issues. In Brazil, I actually had applied for investment visa. There was a lot of bureaucracy. While you're waiting, usually that means that you can stay in the country in Costa Rica while you've applied. I'm distracted because this goat is like the cutest thing ever. What? Look at this goat. She's a lunatic. She's so cute. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Um, investment visa, yeah. We were waiting for it, and while we were waiting for it, it allowed us to stay, without issue. But even if you overstay, I can say for certain, in my experience in Brazil and here in Costa Rica, it's not the end of the world if you're flying. I've never tried to do my border runs land line, like through a land border. I always felt that it would up my likelihood of having some issue or me getting somebody on a bad day who wanted to give me crap. Whereas at the airport, they just want you to go on about your business, get on that plane, and go wherever you're going. So I've only ever flown. And I've never had an issue, and I have overstayed because I've had, and that's going to be for another video, just the craziness with our business, and I was not able to leave in time. So, there's that. Um, and then considering also, like, when you leave, are you leaving to immediately stay somewhere, or are you wanting to go on a little bit of a tour? I would suggest going wherever you're considering going, if you can. Now, not everybody needs this, but some people like to kind of test the waters. If you can go somewhere for 2 or 3 months, that's not going to let you know what it's like to live there. Let me be clear. And that's not going to give you the full experience of what it's like after you've been somewhere for a year or 2 years. It really takes a year to even figure out where you actually are and how things really work, to get to know the people, the vibe, the feeling, how all of it really works. So that's going to take some time. But in 3 months, you can see enough of the basics, what it's like to go grocery shopping, what it's like to take the bus, how people drive, what it's like, trying to get an Uber, how much, the items that you usually buy cost, that kind of thing. If you can afford it, you please do that. Now, when I lived in Brazil, I had never been there when I moved. I had researched for a couple, like 2.5 years, but I had never physically been there. My former partner, ex-husband, had gone to Rio twice. We didn't even end up living in Rio, so it wasn't really any help. But I had done all the necessary research. I got on Facebook groups. I talked to people who had been there. I spoke to native Brazilians. Side note, I seem to be a little distracted today. I'm sorry. Speaking to people from the country that you're considering going to, when they're in your country, you have to understand that that is not necessarily indicative of who the other people in their country who you'll be neighbors with are like. What do I mean? You talk to someone who's from Senegal, and you're in Los Angeles, and they went to school there, and they now live in LA, and you ask them, so what's Senegal like? And they tell you, it's all right, but I didn't really like it. I prefer, the opportunity that I have here in LA, and, da da da. They tend to not have the best opinion. This is I'm generalizing, but, I'll take myself for example. I've left the US a couple times, okay? And when people ask me what it's like, I tell them the reasons why I'm not there, cuz it's not for me. So whenever you're talking to someone from a country that you're considering moving to, we migrate for different reasons. We all are searching for a place that we can call home and that resonates with us. And the person that you may meet or you might work with that's from Costa Rica or from Panama or from Nicaragua or from Colombia or from wherever, they probably left because that country did not resonate with them. That lifestyle did not resonate with them. It doesn't mean that it's not going to resonate for you. And it doesn't mean it's not going to meet the kind of lifestyle that you want. So take everyone else's opinion with a grain of salt, because your experience is your own. Your needs are your own. Nobody can tell you what those things are. Not me, not anybody else. I share with you guys my experiences because I want you to feel encouraged and supported in your search. I want you to know that you can do it, but nobody else's anecdotal experiences are going to make up for your own. So be brave. Take the time to learn, take the time to explore and to ask questions. And as always, I will be here to help as best I can. So, ciao, bye, adios.